Today on Listen Up, changing the law on doctor-assisted suicide. We take you to Quebec, where public hearings on that and more are underway. That's next. Changing values, changing laws, and changing morality are always controversial, especially so when you bring a Christian perspective into the debates. And today we're going to do that on euthanasia. Welcome to Listen Up, I'm Lorna Dueck. Canada has opened up a fresh debate on who should control the end of life. Is it an individual decision or is it a societal one? Quebec is trying to determine that in a series of public hearings they are conducting in their province. And today we bring you some of the best minds who are telling the government hearings this is a monumental moment for our future.
I may not request euthanasia, by the way, but I would like it to be there if I think I want it.
If a person chooses euthanasia, someone else is going to do the killing.
But when you don't want it anymore, I think it's cruel.
You treat the pain, you don't kill the patient.
I should have control on my body.
I object to it because I think it's morally wrong to kill another person.
Big concerns on who should decide when life is over. We'll hear more from our guests in a moment, but first, the framework for the debate. Euthanasia has been prohibited by 3 sections of the Criminal Code. Assisting suicide, intentional killing, even to reduce suffering, is criminal conduct. It is also criminal conduct for doctors to withhold or withdraw life-sustaining procedures of their own accord. However, citizens do have the right to refuse medical care and to reject life-saving procedures even if doing so will lead to death. So why introduce change? Because in a world where people are valuing autonomy, the individual power to choose, death is the next frontier.
And at the bedside, what do you hear common sense tell you? Common sense says, boy, sick like this, he'd be better dead. Or why do they let him suffer like this? It's useless.
As long as a person wants palliative care, it's extraordinary. As long as you want to live and you have all the treatments you can be offered, it's all right. But when you don't want it anymore, I think it's cruel.
Retired palliative care doctor Marcel Boisvert and Hélène Bolduc of the Right to Die with Dignity Association are just 2 of the voices calling for the legalization of euthanasia in Quebec. Dr. Boisvert, you are in favor of euthanasia. Why?
Because it is needed. There are patients whose end of life is unbearable, and the explicit proof of this is that palliative care itself invented what is called terminal sedation precisely for those cases where there was no way that we could really reasonably alleviate their suffering.
Hélène, tell us the point that you argued on why euthanasia should be allowed.
People want to live, but they don't want to suffer. And my point is that when it comes to a point where you can't bear anymore, why can't we be allowed as a human being to say that you've got enough and you could be helped?
But oncologist Gerald Batiste of the Living with Dignity Network says redirecting that kind of compassion is what's really needed.
I've seen suffering. I've seen people dying after having had a quality care and quality life until the moment that they die. I see people maintaining their dignity in sickness, and I see the ability to relieve suffering, pain and spiritual and psychological suffering. It takes time. It's not the easy solution, but it's entirely possible. When someone says, I have so much pain, I wish I were dead, it doesn't mean I want to be dead. It means I have horrible pain. So you treat the pain, you don't kill the patient.
But what about purposeless?
There's a whole science called meaning making, and we're just starting to develop it, finding meaning in life. And that is something that we're developing and particularly have a strong group working on it here. And that has to be developed. We have to work on that. It takes more time than just writing a prescription for a lethal dose of medication. It's not the simple solution, but it may be the right solution. It's the right solution for me.
Death is not a solo act, in fact. If a person chooses euthanasia, someone else is going to do the killing.
McGill University professor John Zucchi warns that dark lessons from history should make us wary of euthanasia.
I think the most dramatic example is the one, of course, of Nazi Germany. One that we all know of. The euthanasia began as something quite simple. It was really a way to get rid of children who were born with grave mental or physical defects under the age of 2, infants essentially, and then those under the age of 2. 1939, if I'm not mistaken, was when Hitler gave the order on this one. Well, it wasn't long before patients or human beings over the age of 2, including adults, first children and then adults, were being euthanized. When we try to play God, one could say, when we think we are masters of life and death, there are effects for all of us in society.
Killing is not caring.
At the International Palliative Care Hospice Congress, Linda Couture of the organization Living with Dignity is concerned that lack of resources could lead society to view euthanasia as the easy solution.
With the population getting older in Quebec rapidly, there's a pressure on the system, and it is a recipe for abuse. So we have to be careful what message we send, to our elderly, but also to our young people. If grandpa or grandma can request euthanasia and you're depressed as a 20-year-old, how come, what kind of message we send? We really have to have an impact on our society. We can't think about just us.
But Bernard Cloutier, who is dying, says having the choice to determine when he dies should be his right.
I'm a human being also, and I believe I should have control on my body the same way that women have fought to have control on theirs. And if I have reason to be in insufferable pain or mental misery, and if I want to end my life, nobody else has anything to say about it.
When we return, 30 years of study into euthanasia and a tough conclusion. Next.
It's the single most important question we're currently wrestling with.